Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to talk about how we can create one employee productivity web part by just fetching the data from Microsoft 365 using Power Automate, MS Graph API and visualizing it into Power BI dashboard. So over here, I am just created one simple web part that is a visual into Power BI dashboard, but it's taking this consideration into one of the SharePoint list for building out this visual, and this visual can be embedded into intranet portal anywhere where you want to just show the productivity data, kind of like number of emails exchange, number of total meeting hours for that employee, or total chats or conversations for that employee. So this could be handy for senior leadership where they want to just check the stats for their unit, for their department, and how much their employees or their team members are engaged, and how much their productivity, like in terms of Microsoft 365 productivity toolset, is showing up. So this we can very well build up with most of the Power Platform components like Power Automate, MS Graph API, Power BI dashboard, and showing that into SharePoint. And also, like, it can be presented on the Power Apps. So that's pretty possible as well with the Power BI, with embedding Power BI report over there. So let's jump into that. So to start with, we have to first of all make a registration of our app into Azure portal so that we can use that application to make the calls to MS Graph API. So for that, like, we are going to just open this Azure portal. We'll go to Microsoft Entra ID, and there we would be registering our one app. So we'll click on Microsoft Entra ID and we will start registering one new app. So over here, go to app registration at the bottom and can create a new registration, or if you have any other existing application which connects to Microsoft Graph API, then you can also leverage that one. So for me, I have this one of the app already created, so that is productivity app, and this app I have registered. As soon as you create this app, you will get this application client ID and your tenant ID, and then you can create the secret client secret for it. Go to the certificate and secret, click on this new client secret, and then copy that value. So that value you are going to use while we are making a connection via our Power Automate. And once you do that, like, we have to register the API permission also. I'm going through very fast with these steps because I have already explained this step in my previous other videos. So over here with this app registration, these permissions I would require to have, because this productivity stats would be containing the conversations from teams, conversations from or I mean the meeting stats, the number of meetings and the duration of meeting, and this the other one, total number of emails exchanged. So that's why we are going to just provide the permissions on this calendar.read, the chat.read all, and then email mail.read, and then user read.all. And why this would require, because if you wish to like have this at the level of organization level, then you would like to iterate through all the users to create these stats. Though, like I explained, like it could be only the senior leadership, the static number of team members you may require to extract or have these stats available for them. So for that, I created one small list where all my team members or the department employees would be listed, and those the stats against, or the columns against these mail count, chat, meeting hours, will be filled with this MS Graph API data, which we are going to build with this Microsoft MS Flow or the Power Automate. So once you register your app, you provide your permission and then grant the admin consent, you can very well go back to your Power Automate, can start creating a scheduled cloud flow, because we want to just refresh this data daily only. And I'll just say this as productivity MS Flow, and we'll run that as a daily. And in the first step, we are going to just make a call to this productivity SharePoint list, which will give us this user or the team members, or you can very well just make a call, HTTP new call itself, to get all the users. So I'll just open MS Graph Explorer so that we can parallelly see what API calls we are making. So to start with, if you wish to like do it for your organization level, then you want to have one initial API to be called as users, which will give you all the users, and this users would be iterated through the subsequent call to get the mail count, chats, or the meeting hours. So as I said, like, I'll be just using this SharePoint list where I have my team member already added. So I'll just say get items so that I can get those email addresses of my team members. We'll make a connection to SharePoint to pick my SharePoint list. which has this users, and you can also filter based on filter query if some user is inactive or you don't want to track those users information as of now. So then just do a filter query so that you can just efficiently work with this list. So once we get all these items, we just need to make a extract the title or the email address which we put into the title column. So I will just say use compose action, and in this compose action I will just make a formula where I'll just pick this dynamic content from my, what do you say, like the title, and this title will give me this email address. So once I add this, so it will bind that to the for each, because it's a multiple users or multiple rows which we are going to work with. So our first step of getting the users from this SharePoint list is done. And the second call, we want to iterate through our different other endpoints, that is of, let's say, if I say like my messages, that will give me all the emails. I make a run query, I will get all the emails, and that is restricted to 200 items. But as I said, like requirement could be just this productivity stat should be just 30 days rolling or a 1 month data. Then you can very well add those filters on your received date. So we will be having this message or the email received date, which you can use for your filter receive date time, and you can just make a filter over here. So if this date is greater than your date of your this thing or 30 days today's date, so that you can actually very well read into a Power Automate like what is today's current date, and this one you can just make a call with, so that it gives you the data which is 30 days or the today's date minus 30 days. So this action you can do. So I'll just hard-codedly I'll just pick this up and make a query over here, and this one I will say like my date is February 28th. When I run it, I will get my these 30 days of last data. So this endpoint we are going to just use, and I'll just copy this, and we will start adding our this HTTP connector so that we can make a call to MS Graph API by Explorer. And I'll just filter, go to this HTTP, and here you can just paste this one. But as I said, like we are going to just construct this URL based on the users. It's not me, it will be the username. So I have already constructed that. I'll just copy this and I'll paste that. So we are going to use the function concat, which will concat my this URL with single quotes and apply to each title, which will give me the email, and this message, which will give me the my all the message. So over here itself in this formula, you can just add this or modify this formula to include my 30 days of rolling period filter based on like current received date should be less than my this 30 days of time. So that you can add it very easily, and I am going to just do this get operation, and we'll just go to the advanced parameter, and we will just select this authentication, and in this authentication we are going to do the authentication type as Active Directory OAuth authentication, so that we can make a call to MS Graph API. And over here in authority, I'm just going to paste few items or few predefined URLs. So then authority we would be writing as login.microsoft.online.com. Tenant ID, I have already copied the tenant ID from application registration tab, and I pasted it. And in this audience, we are going to use the audience as my https microsoft graph.microsoft.com. I'll just say https graph.microsoft.com, and in client ID that is also copied from our app registration tab, and pasting it. And secret is also which we copied, which we generated the client secret, and I'm going to copy this, and we are ready with our connection. And it's a get call, so you need not to pass anything in body, and even headers you can just keep that as blank. So right now we are good, and we are going to just make a save. And this is a warning because we are using get items without filter query. That's fine, we can skip it. And in next step, we are going to just use one compose action so that we can just get the length of our result, and that we are going to consider that length as a count of our email. So I'll just simply say dynamic, and this would be from function we are going to use, and we are going to say length of our current item, and that we got from our previous action as body, and we'll get that value, and value because we are getting this value as an array. If you scroll down and see, this value is array, so this length of this value array we are going to get it, and we are going to just say this. So compose will give us this number of emails. I can very well initialize one variable just to store this count of mails. Initialize variable mail count, and I'll say that as integer, and in next step I am just going to assign this or set this variable to our mail count. Mail count, and this output from our previous step. So I'll just say compose output. So this will give us this output of our, or the mail count of our interaction. So this one open operation, I'll just this keep on giving warning, so I will just add one just filter, and I will say title not equal to blank, so that at least I will stop getting this warning. Alright, so we are done with our first call, that is HTTP call for our messages. I'll simply copy this one, and we will paste this action so that we can replace our next endpoint to get this chats. So right now we are going to get this chats, and I will go to our Class Explorer again, and we'll just change that to endpoint to our chats. And over here in chats we'll see all the conversation, whether it's a Teams call or meeting or private chat, everything. So if you have this chat type, you can filter with the chat type also. If you wish to just remove the meetings or any group conversation, just only private chat should come up in that count, and you can add those filters. But right now I am good. I would not be adding any filter to it, so I'll just directly say chats, and this endpoint is also good. So once we get this chat, we can again initialize the same way. We are going to just initialize one more variable for keeping our chats count. So right now it's simple, nothing complex over here. I'll just paste, and for the sake of time I'm not giving this initializing or giving this right names, the naming conventions, so just skip for that for now. And I'll say like chat count integer is fine, and in this set variable I'll make a copy of this action again, and we'll paste it. And this time because there is one more action of compose, so I'll just copy this compose also and make a update that compose length of HTTP. Instead of HTTP is this time is HTTP hyphen copy. So I can just replace this one, click on this fx formula, remove this part so that I can pick that from my dynamic content. And this time this is HTTP copy body, and there we are going to just have this value and length of that value. Update, and in set variable this time we are going to set this chat count. We are going to set that from this dynamic value of our second compose output. So alright, so we are going to just make one more call, and I'll just copy this action, paste it, the same call, and this time we are going to do a call for meeting duration, and I'm going to replace this with this meeting endpoint or this calendar, and we are going to just get the events, calendar events, and we can filter, we can just select the start date of that event, start and end, so that we are just bothered about start date and time and the end date and time, so that we can get the duration into hour. So when I run this query, I get this start date time and this end date time, and we are going to just use this compose action just to create a formula where like we are going to just deduct the difference, the end date time to start date time, and computation, so that we can get the number of hours, and we can just show that into or save that into our productivity list. So for that, like I'll just go back to our automate, and this time I'm going to replace this endpoint with the endpoint which we just created, and this is calendar events, and select start and end. Replace this one, and in the next one, when we are going to just create one compose action, at that time we are just going to replace or do some calculation to get the duration or the hour out of start and end date. And before this action, we are going to just put one apply to each, so that we can iterate through our output of our previous step, and this time apply to each, and this output we are going to bind from the output body of our this body and value. So I am just going to modify this one just to get the HTTP copy body and this value, so that we can directly get the value to iterate over, rather than again like doing JSON parsing. So this we are going to iterate through, and in this one we are going to just add our compose operation, and in this compose one we are going to, as I said, just that formula which we copied over there from my notepad. I'll place that formula for the ease of you pasting it, and this time it will iterate through all our items, do a apply to each, get the end time, subtraction to the start time, and then divided by this. So this will give us the number into hours, and this we are going to set up into our this one more variable which we are going to increment with this number. So I'll just first of all save it just for the sake of not losing out, and then create one more variable for containing the meeting duration. Initialize one variable. This time I'll say meeting duration count, and it's of type integer. Save it, and going again back to our final step, and over here set variable, and this time the count we are going to increment with the count which we get from our compose to operation. I'll say set variable, or not set variable, I'll say the increment variable. So I'll delete this one and then have this other increment variable. And the variable is meeting count duration, and we are going to increment by the output of our compose 2, and which would be giving us 1 hour, 2 hour. Then it will keep on incrementing this counter until we iterate through all our this meeting counts. So just remember, whatever operation, HTTPS operation we are doing, if you wish to restrict to the specific type or to the specific time window, just add those filters. For the sake of time, I'm not doing it, but it's very easy to add with getting the current UTC time and then doing that calculation. It's very simple. So in the last step, we are going to just update our item back. So all with all the stats. So I am just going to do this update item and connecting to the same list, that is productivity list, and the identifier. This identifier is again our ID, where we were iterating through in the initial get items action, and we are going to just set this all attributes except title with these variables, whatever variables we got. So mail count we are going to set with mail count, meeting hours we are going to set with meeting hours duration count, and this chat count with the chat counts. I will say chat count, and we are done. And we'll just verify all our endpoint once again before running it. So starting from top, the first HTTP operation, the first get call will just make sure that okay, we found it, like we did not add that slash, so it will be a corrupted URL. So we added it, we need to update. And the second HTTP call will just verify again. So over here we have this chats, that's fine. And in the last one, and now we are ready for the test run. We'll do it. So it ran fine and we got all our endpoints ran successfully and output to those variables. And when we refresh our list, we should see the updated data, and this is the updated data which we got. And once you have the updated data, then you can go back to your Power BI, and if you have it, and if you don't have it, then you can just simply like start showing that stats in a tabular form into your intranet portal. But you have it, like then you can do a better visualizations. For example, so this one, this Power BI which I opened it up, is directly connecting to our SharePoint list, nothing difficult about it. So because the data is not refreshed yet, so that's why you are seeing the old record, but you have to just go to this get data, or we can just simply close this and then start creating a new report altogether. From here we'll just start a report from blank, and then once you create a report from blank, then you would be imported with this data. And once you have this data with yourself, then you can just add that visualization into your Power BI dashboard. So though like we are not pretty focused on like how to visualize that data, but quickly I will cover, like if you wish to like have that in place. So just get data, and from get data just select this more option, go to SharePoint online list and connect. So you can specify the site URL and you can copy the URL, select your list, and once the data is loaded, you can just circle back to your actual list and then have this stack chart over here, like dropped over here. And in your this productivity list, on the x-axis you just need to drop the title, which is the display name of users or employees, and in the y-axis you have to like drop these other columns: total chats, total mails, and total meeting hours. So right now if you look over here, so the exact columns were this mail, but these mail column were like this is a whole number, but it was, we set that as a don't summarize so that we should not get a count. So I created these three more measures, which is a raw value, because these raw value we want to bind to this stack chart. So it's pretty simple, like to have this chart, like basic charts created with your data. And then once you have it, you can publish this. And then once you have this Power BI server, then you can open your Power BI's report. I'll just go to our Power BI service, and how to get that Power BI link, probably you may be knowing, but just covering that quickly for the sake of if you are doing it for first time. Then open that published report from your Power BI service and go to your workspace, open your report productivity list, and once you open it, you will see an option of file. Click on this, get an embed report option, SharePoint online portal. It will give you this link. So just copy this link, go to SharePoint, create a page, or like wherever existing page you want to wish to add, then just add this web part. So you have this web part. From this plus you can add a new web part. Just search for Power BI, you will add it. Once you add this, in the properties you will see an option of like adding the Power BI report link. Just paste that link, just set the default page display, the other options showing this filtering property and other things, like based on your requirement you can set that up. And once you set it, like you can republish your page and you will be all set with your data. So this is how quickly you can create the productivity stats for your senior leadership team or for your organization as well. And as I like, it's a very like basic level which I covered. It can be tweaked, it can be improved, it can be added with more filters, but it's just a gist, like where to give you an overview how you can build on this thought. So that was the intent of this video, not like covering end-to-end stuff, because in 15-20 minutes we cannot cover everything, but that's the overview. So if you have any questions to extend it or to even like make it more user friendly, then please do drop your comments. I'll try to answer. And that is it for today's video. Thank you.